Hi.
Hi.
We're continuing to read in Search for Christian Freedom, and we're starting chapter 1, The Search for Christian Freedom. He begins by quoting from the Jerusalem Bible, Galatians 5, 1, verse 1, and verse 6 and 7. When Christ freed us, he meant us to remain free. What matters is faith that makes its power felt through love. You begin your race well. Who made you less anxious to obey the truth?
Freedom, like faith, love, and truth, is an essential part of true Christianity. Where freedom prevails, faith, love, and truth prosper. When freedom is limited or lacking, they inevitably suffer. And now Ray refers to 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17, which we will proceed to read from the New World Translation and the ESV.
So I'm reading from the New World. Now Jehovah is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of Jehovah is, there is freedom.
Now, of course, there's a double problem in the New World Translation right there, for twice they have intruded the tetragram, where the actual Greek word is kurios, a Lord. So that reads in the ESV this way. Now, the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So the anti-Trinitarian and pro-Trinitarian arguments will part for another discussion. Translation issues. But obviously Ray's point is that freedom is a very large concept in Paul's mind. And he says very clearly here, whichever translation you have, that it's the Spirit of the Lord that brings freedom. It's not negative repudiation of anything else and leaving a religion. It's finding the Lord and having His Spirit that guarantees real freedom.
You were going to continue reading.
I will continue reading from Ray's exposition of this concept. The freedom which God's Son gave us is for the very purpose that we may express our faith and love to the fullest degree, free from restraints which men, not God, would impose on us. Any willing forfeiture of that freedom inevitably means a sacrifice of truth. For those who would impose such restrictions do so, not by truth, but by error. In the past several decades, hundreds of thousands of persons have separated from the religion that was the religion of my birth, Jehovah's Witnesses. During those same decades, hundreds of thousands of other persons have entered that same religion, sufficiently so that the religion has continued to grow. I do not feel that either the departure or the entry of these persons of themselves proves anything.
The real question regarding those who leave is why they have left. What moved them to separate? Was it love of truth, the desire to express their faith and their love in Christian freedom? Could they not have achieved this by remaining where they were? Was their departure justified? By the same token, questions may be asked about those entering. There is no question that a sizable number of these were previously irreligious, unspiritual, essentially materialistic in their outlook. Since their entry, they have made a considerable change in these areas. At least a percentage of them were helped to free themselves from serious problems of sexual promiscuity, alcoholism, drug addiction, violent or dishonest, even criminal behavior. This has certainly marked an improvement in their lives. Yes, it is also true that this record of help is not unique. Most religions and church organizations can produce multiple case histories and testimonials of persons whose lives definitely turned around as a result of conversion. Similarly, the record and number of those helped by the Watchtower organization in overcoming vicious habits or addictions can undoubtedly be equaled by even some social organizations, including Alcoholics Anonymous, drug addiction help centers, and similar entities. And certainly the majority of those becoming witnesses were not persons previously plagued by such problems.
The question remains, then, whatever the apparent benefits gained, at what cost have they been gained? Has their integration into the witness organization eventually resulted in a forfeiture of freedom to express truth, faith, and love in a way that is uncoerced and unrestrained by human domination? If this should be the case, then how genuine an improvement has been attained? How truly Christian are the apparent benefits? These identical questions may be and should be applied to any religion professing to be Christian, and it is hoped that what is here presented may prove of value to people of many religious backgrounds. For the issue here is actually far greater than the particular people involved. It reaches to the very heart of the good news about God's Son, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. So this reliance on testimonies is not just something the witnesses do, but it's what Christians do as well.
Yeah.
And yet these good changes that happen in people's lives is not in themselves proof that it's true, the religion.
Yeah. I recall that when I became a witness back in 1970-71, I was the first of a chain of people who were from a musical or a hippie background, mm-hmm. and almost all of them had to make serious changes in their lives. Some were addicted to drugs, smoking, definitely sex, mm-hmm. and all of them had to change something to become Jehovah's Witnesses, and almost all of them did become Jehovah's Witnesses, mm-hmm. and as far as we know, most of them are still in there. So you have to ask Ray's question here, what's the ultimate cost mm-hmm. of these beneficial changes, mm-hmm. if it commits you to the thought that it's only God's organization mm-hmm. that enables you to make such changes?
Yeah. So there is protection in a lot of the teachings, and a lot of them are biblical teachings. We're not denying they're biblical teachings, but true transformation is more than rules. And for a lot of, at least people growing up on the witnesses, it's basically following rules that has made you make some improvements in your life, whether you think of them that way or not. Protection. It was a form of protection.
But if your morality...
Was it a transformation?
And even if it is a transformation of character and of your internal qualities, mm-hmm. is that morality now binding you to the organization, this idolatry, and is it making you in effect self-righteous as to the reason you are justified in God's sight is because you have made these changes, in which case it's not grace anymore, is it?
Yeah.
So in the next segment, Ray asked the question, where does the difference lie between this freedom which is not freedom and true freedom? And he takes us back to the Reformation and Martin Luther to start the discussion of what true Christian freedom should look like.